Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Friday. It means we're brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Got Jordan Kitchens, Paul O'Neill back there on the ones and twos, working towards the weekend. Glad you're hanging out with us. If you've gotten to the finish line for the work week, congratulations. Start enjoying it. If not, we'll get you to that finish line. Got a lot to get to over the course of the next couple of hours. We'll chat with Preston Guy, TigerBait.com on LSU football in 15 minutes. An LSU summer baseball update coming up. Sam Burns goes real low today over in England. Our in-depth chart series at the top of hour number 2 that's going to take us to the defensive side of the ball today. We'll talk defensive tackles. And I wanted to check in with Faxon Childress. He's with the Roar in upstate South Carolina. Dabo Sweeney did the car wash over at ACC Kickoff. Their version of Media Day is yesterday. Faxon Station was there on site. So just kind of wanted to check in on Clemson. We'll do that at 2:15. And then there's a game we're going to play. There's a story on Yahoo Sports. Is your school a football school or a basketball school? But it goes further than that. It encapsulates every single sport. I've got my guess for all 16 SEC teams. I'm going to grade myself. I haven't looked at the story. Jordan's going to see how we do. We'll do that to kind of finish off the week here at 2:30. So plenty to get to. Let's start like we do every day with our opening drive.
Welcome to the big league.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive. Presented by Fabry Chevrolet GMC in St. Francisville.
LSU announced 4 non-conference football games today that will take place between 2027, which is obviously next season, and 2030. And there are a couple of reasons why I find these games to be interesting, and a couple of reasons I find them to be uninteresting. But let's get to them. First, what are the games? Well, it'll start next year with Northwestern State on August the 28th. The following year, it'll be ULM on August the 26th. 1 week later, it'll be Southern in 2028 as well on September 9th, and then Tulane on August 31st of 2030. So let's take them in order and talk about why I find these interesting, because there's really nothing interesting about LSU playing Northwestern State in football, which will happen to start next season. LSU will beat Northwestern State by 50 points. The game probably shouldn't be played. FCS versus SEC is a complete and total mismatch, and it will be when they play next year. However, the interesting aspect to that is that August 28th is a week before Labor Day. August 28th is week 0. And LSU will play week 0, and you're going, well, don't they have to have like a waiver for that? Well, you have in the past. You either had to have a Hawaii game or an international game, or you had to have some sort of significant issue to apply for a waiver to play in week 0. That's gone. The NCAA has taken that provision out. It was part of the 5-for-5 litigation that went through this summer. So you can play on week 0 if you want, and LSU is taking advantage of that next year prior to the trip over to Houston to play the Houston Cougars. So instead of opening the season on September the 4th, Labor Day weekend in Houston against Houston, LSU will instead play Northwestern State in Tiger Stadium, when it will be 1,000 degrees in August. And then for their second game of the season, LSU will go play in NRG Stadium against the Cougars. The following season, LSU will play ULM in week 0 on August the 26th. I will be in shorts hosting the pregame show. You can guarantee it. But ULM, August 26th, that is a week prior to Labor Day weekend when LSU will they will host SMU in Tiger Stadium a week later in the first weekend of September. So LSU is taking advantage of the week 0 opportunities by scheduling a couple of in-state teams, and they'll play week 0. And then after they play SMU, the week following they will play Southern, and then in 2030 they will play Tulane. I have thoughts on those two games. Playing Southern the third weekend of the season, I'm just not a big fan of. I talked about the Northwestern State game 3 minutes ago, and I'll talk about this. The last time Southern came to Tiger Stadium, it was 37-0 in the first quarter. It was 51-0 at halftime. That's just not a good use of anyone's time. It's not a good use of anyone's time for LSU to destroy Northwestern State. It's not a good use of anyone's time to play Southern. I understood bringing Southern in the first time. Never played. Cross town. Okay, I celebrated that with Baton Rouge the first time. I'm just not a fan of doing it again. I'm not a fan of playing Northwestern State. I'm not a fan of playing McNeese. I'm not a fan of playing Nichols. I'm not a fan of playing any of these FCS teams in Tiger Stadium. I just think it's a waste of a weekend. It's dangerous for the teams with less scholarship players. We have heard FCS coaches come on this radio station and talk to Matt Moscona on After a Further Review and say, yeah, it's not ideal, but they need the check. They need the check to balance the books athletically. I'm not going to belabor this point, but I just don't like the game. That's the Southern game. Here, the Tulane game in 2030 has some people's attention. And I understand why. Tulane was in the college football playoff last year. Now, if Hunt Palmer was CEO of the college football playoff, the college football world, Tulane would never be in the playoff. They wouldn't have been in it last year. I think it's laughable. I'm not the CEO. The rules are, if you're the highest ranking group of 5, you get in. So Tulane was the highest ranking group of 5. They got in, and they got destroyed, as everyone on earth knew they would. But there are some people that go, this is great. It's a storied rivalry. Bring it back. And that's fine. I have no problem whatsoever with LSU playing Tulane. None. I do not have any intention of dressing this up as some sort of storied rivalry that we have to rekindle. That's absurd. Tulane and LSU are on different planets of the college football world. And there are people in New Orleans that will go, are you serious? Like, Tulane beat a Heisman winner in Caleb Williams. They were in the college football playoff. LSU fired their coach and lost 5 games. Like, what are you talking about? Okay. You can go ahead and frame it that way if you want. Tulane got in the college football playoff because they played Memphis and Rice and UTSA and whoever, and they won their bad conference. That's why they got in. Tulane is in their renaissance period at this point, right? It's fair to say that Tulane, by winning the Cotton Bowl over Caleb Williams, making the college football playoff, like, this is a big era of Tulane football, right? Tulane, in the last 4 years, has played 7 SEC teams. They're 0-7, and the combined final score is an average of 41.5 to 17.5, okay? They were annihilated twice by Ole Miss last year. Yes, beat Kansas State. Yes, beat Duke. Yes, beat Caleb Williams. I'm not suggesting that Tulane is a laughingstock of college football. Tulane's a fine program. They're doing a great job. I think their hire was really poor. Will Hall ran Southern Miss into the ground, and I don't believe he will keep up what Willie Fritz and John Summerall did. But I'm not suggesting that Tulane is a laughingstock. I'm just suggesting I'm not going to sit here and celebrate something that was important in the 1930s, the battle for the Tiger Rag. Tulane bailed on the SEC. LSU's beaten them 18 times in a row. This hasn't been a rivalry since 1981. I'm just not going to pretend like this is some sort of big deal. If they feel like the money staying in state is better than going to play Rice or play in Western Michigan or Western Kentucky, whatever, sure, fine. Like, I'm perfectly fine playing Tulane. I believe by the time LSU plays Tulane in 2030, that Lane Kiffin will have this thing humming in Baton Rouge and that Tulane will probably have fallen off a cliff. That's my contention. I have no evidence to back that up. I just believe that. And I think it's fine to play Tulane. I think it's fine to play ULM. I think it's fine to play Louisiana Tech. I don't like those games. I think that it would be more entertaining if LSU played a power league schedule. But in this instance where you're trying to win as many games as possible and you're not in an era where we're ruling out the rental wins, it's fine to play Tulane. But don't ask me to sit here and go, Tulane was in the college football playoff. This is awesome. Like, hey, I'm not going to go there. Tulane, I don't care about Tulane. I don't think LSU and Tulane are significant rivals. It's a fine game to put on the schedule if you have to put one on there. And LSU, I think, will trounce Tulane in 2030, and we'll move on with our lives, and LSU will go play the important games in the Southeastern Conference. So I think this is an interesting day for a couple of reasons. Using the week 0 is interesting. I'm not a fan of playing the FCS games against Northwestern State and Southern, and I don't really care about Tulane. That's my take on this. We all know that if LSU has a pulse, None of these games are going to matter. Even if they don't have a pulse, Northwestern State, ULM, and Southern aren't going to matter. No good LSU team is ever going to be in a competitive contest with these teams. And I think Lane Kiffin's going to field a lot of good LSU teams. So it's just filling out the schedule. We know the 9 SEC games and the 1 Power League non-conference game are what are going to tell the tale of LSU seasons year in and year out under this format. So these are just games to fill in. And if you're going to play a week 0 game, I support that, getting a game under your belt. There was a thought early on, like when UCLA played that week 0 game, that LSU was like, well, they'll have some film on them. That might be an advantage for LSU, and found out, no, probably wasn't. Probably an advantage to go out there and play a game and get your operation underway as opposed to going out there blind, which is kind of what LSU did against UCLA, and they got crushed. So I don't have huge reactions to this. Just relaying the news. Now, what I am curious about is our Southern University grad's opinion on this, as Jordan is a Southern Jag. Do you feel like it's a worthwhile exercise for Southern to play LSU? And don't cower from it, because I don't think it's a worthwhile exercise. You've got a different perspective than I do.
For Southern's aspect, no, but I think the student-wise, because I was in college in 2022 when LSU did play Southern. It definitely did bring Baton Rouge together. The tailgate was one of the best things I've ever been to in my life. Now, I will say, before I even sat down with my food, the score was like 30-0. I swear to God, like it happened. Like, I sat down and I looked up, and then I was like, damn, they got 30 points already. So
Baskerville had a pick six.
Yeah, it was quick. It happened very fast. It happened extremely fast. But like on field play wise, they're in 2 different realms. Like they're playing 2 different. They're not even playing the same football, for being honest. So I get that aspect of it. But like if they're talking of it, bringing money to the community and bringing Southern and LSU together, then yeah, like I feel like it did its job in 2022, and I think it'll do that in 2028.
Let's try to get out in front of the parking situation if we possibly can. There's a bit of an issue. That's the only time this will be my 10th year doing pregame, that I thought there was a possibility I might miss the show. I thought I might not get there in time. My guy Big Fave has been running up against it fairly frequently at times. I thought I texted Chris. I remember going, I might have to leave my car, get out and walk, but I don't know if I'm gonna make it or not. And I leave real early. I get there early. I'm up in the Sports Properties tailgate watching games. I'm there like an hour and a half early. From my house, which at that time was 1.5 miles from Tiger Stadium. From my house, it was probably 2 miles from Tiger Stadium. It was an hour 50, an hour 20, and I usually allot for like 30 minutes.
We walked. We had to walk. So I 100% get what you're talking about.
It was a tough scene in that day trying to get onto campus. We're brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Come back with Preston Guy at TigerBait.com next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. BoudreauxElectrical.com. Neil and Melissa have been running the show for 40 years. Their son Justin, now a big part of the operation over there at Boudreaux's Electrical Services. The key is that you want to work with local people. This is something that is important because you want that generator to be functioning when you need it, right? So Boudreaux's Electrical, after the installation of that Generac home standby generator, will be able to monitor that generator 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to make sure it's up and running. They'll run tests on it. If they determine, you might not even know, they determine there's some sort of mechanical issue, they'll send a local team out to fix it so that if and when you need that generator to spring your power to life, it's ready to go. That's the local difference. You can buy a Generac home standby generator from the big box stores. Absolutely. No question. Are you going to get the customer service that you get from the local company? The answer is no. Boudreaux's Electrical Services will bring you that. Give them a call. They've got the same number they've had for 40 years. 985-397-1562. That's 985-397-1562. Or you can call the Gonzales location, 225-300-9389. I'll give you the easy way every day. That's BoudreauxElectrical.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Friday show is always brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Stop by and see them on Government between Foster and Jefferson. Entire menu online at corksfishandshrimp.com. Preston Guy's with us every single Friday talking Tiger football. He's with TigerBait.com. Joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Preston, how we doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. I just went through the schedule deal on my end. 4 games announced. I think the interesting aspects of it are the 2 week 0 games before Houston and SMU, as well as the return of Southern and Northwestern State from the FCS, and then Tulane in 2030. What stands out to you about that announcement, if anything?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely the week 0 thing. First off, I love the scheduling. Obviously, you're going to have to change your formula with 9 SEC games, right? And a big part of that is going to be, hey, are you still going to be able to play your local Louisiana teams? And in my opinion, I think you should be playing 2 of them per year, right? So I've always thought you should have 1 marquee home and home series. I'm not talking about neutral site, Jerry World or whatever. Like, let's go to, let's go to USC. Let's, go to, Texas or UCLA, do a home and home. And then you should have your Louisiana teams. It's good for your economy, good for those schools, all that jazz, right? So I love this. And I've also talked about, particularly as LSU was getting skull dragged by Florida State and, that series. I think a week 0 game is just objectively a smarter way to schedule.
Yeah.
You can always back up your fall camp, right? It's not like you get less practicing for one of these week 0 games. You still get your 15 fall camp practices. You're just as prepared in week 0 as you would be for week 1, right? So use that week 0 game. I like scheduling a group of 5 schools for that week. It gives you a chance to work out the kinks instead of, going up against major Power 5 out of conference foe, and really, get your team kind of established. So I look at that as an advantage, and it gives you an extra bye week down the road. If you think about it, not playing week 0 means you're giving a bye week to the front of your season, right? Which does nothing, right? Use that week off during the season when your team is beat up and beat down and, hey, look, this guy really got his bell rung, but he's going to get a rest next week, right? That you're not really dealing with that from fall camp injuries. You don't really you control those, right? So you really need it during the season. So for a lot of reasons, I really like what they announced today.
Nobody knows what's going to be going on in 2030, but does Tulane do anything for you at all as on the schedule?
Yeah, no, I like playing that matchup. It used to be a huge rivalry. Of course, Tulane is now, kind of as a program positioning itself better. In fact, there's a decent chance that, who knows, maybe Tulane has worked its way into the Big 12 or something by then, right? And all of a sudden it's not a group of 5 matchup anymore. I think you should play all of the teams in your state, and you should rotate 2 of them a year. And Tulane is certainly one of those teams you want to play, no doubt.
Preston Guys with us, TigerBait.com. There's an LSU aspect to next week with Media Days, but if you kind of remove that and just as a college football fan, which I know you certainly are, does that do anything for you? Just 4 days of guys talking football, of coaches taking the mic, of players making their rounds, or is it just kind of something to fill a week?
Well, Hunt, here's the thing. My favorite thing in this world that I can talk about on radio is watching football. And my second favorite thing is talking about football. So if there's no football games being played, then yes, I would love to watch all the SEC coaches and players talk about football. So I dig it. I don't necessarily take much away from it, right? Because, it's all PR talk, but it's still interesting. You can still learn a little bit about the teams and players and, agendas and attitudes from it, right?
For sure. And look, it's I often find that the talking heads like us have more interesting things to say oftentimes than the coaches and players who have been trained for 3 weeks on every PR answer they can possibly give. Sometimes they break contain. Bielema or Spurrier or Les or somebody would break contain and say something interesting, but sometimes it doesn't. Like Kirby won't say anything interesting when he gets to the podium. But is there a team or a player or a coach that you'd like to learn a little more about or you're more interested in next week?
I don't know if you've listened to every press conference Lane Kiffin's ever done, but eventually he goes off script.
Yeah.
You're going to get some pretty golden nuggets here, especially, I think what's funny for Lane Kiffin, probably for the first time since Twitter.com graced the surface of the earth, we don't know exactly what he's thinking and saying on a day-to-day basis, right? So back to the olden days of November 2025 when we didn't know. We didn't get to hear from the LSU head football coach every day. So it'll be nice to, hear from him for the first time in a long time, other than a few podcasts appearances.
Any part of you that wishes Sam Levitt was making the trip, or that's not important to you either?
Is it important? No. Did it catch me off guard? Yes. I don't know that I definitely want to hear Lane Kiffin's reasoning for it. My guess would be is that they just don't want to throw the guy out there to ask 1,000 questions about his injury status. Like they might look at that as a bit of a competitive advantage that, they know how healthy he is and the rest of the country doesn't. So let's just, table that as much as possible.
Yeah, it's a pretty easy question to answer considering the fact that everything we've heard suggests he's really healthy, and you just kind of answer that a couple of times, and you can make it pretty quick. I've talked about it. I'm not offended in any way that he's not coming. Selfishly,
Right.
from a professional perspective, I'd love to hear from him because we haven't yet, but that'll come in time, and he'll talk the first week of fall camp. I'm confident, and we'll hear from him then. As far as the guys they are bringing, Daugherty, Weeks, and Tradez, what are your thoughts on those guys?
TJ Daugherty caught me a little off guard. That being said, we are talking about a veteran player who has played under Kiffin for many years. It didn't really catch me off guard. I'm glad they put Tradez out there, and they're kind of acknowledging him, as I think everybody's got their eyes on him as possibly the most talented offensive threat on this team. And I think Whit Weeks was the no-brainer there, right? I think he'll also be the no-brainer for the number 18. I think it's a very high likelihood that we're talking about number 18 and number 7 taking the podium for LSU with Whit Weeks and Tradez Green.
Very possible. Last one, Preston. Again, we appreciate your time. How do you feel? And speaking of things that really don't matter, but I'm curious your thoughts. How do you feel the media will rate LSU when the dust settles in Tampa next week?
Yeah, I was looking at it the other day, and I think the lowest I could understand LSU being rated in the SEC is around 6. There's teams that I certainly understand putting above LSU. Ole Miss, okay, sure, right? Georgia, I get it. Alabama, Texas, even Texas A&M, right? Below 6, you start to get to some teams like South Carolina, really? Huh? I do think LSU's going to come in either 5th or 6th in the SEC. That's my best guess.
We shall certainly see. Preston, we'll talk to you next week. Have a great weekend.
All right, talk to you soon. Thank you.
He's Preston Guy, TigerBait.com, with us every single Friday here. I want to remind you of my friends at Lifetime Roofing. They're online at LifetimeRoofingLA.com. That's LifetimeRoofingLA.com. If you feel like you're not confident in your roof as storm season's upon us, it's a little bit older, or maybe you feel like you've seen some damage or had some leakage, and you're just not sure, don't want to climb up there, have the folks at Lifetime Roofing come up there and do it. They'll come out. They'll jump up on the roof. If you need just a repair, they'll do that. If you do need a new roof, they can do that, and they can do it with a lifetime workmanship warranty. And it'll be a local company that you're working with that'll be here, that feels like they are in business to serve the people of South Louisiana. They can actually serve you anywhere in Louisiana and over in Houston as well. So call them up. Don't take a chance as storm season's upon us that your roof is faulty. Maybe you just need a tune-up to fortify that roof as storm season's here. Go to LifetimeRoofingLA.com and go with the company that's got 0% financing for 18 months as well as a lifetime workmanship warranty. That's, of course, Lifetime Roofing. They're online at LifetimeRoofingLA.com. That's something that I haven't given a lot of thought to, is where the media members will rank LSU, and I realize that that's not important, but I do find it interesting. We're at a time in the calendar where there are no results. There are no practices. There are no games being played. There are no plays to break down. It's all conjecture, and that's the interesting part of the summer. If you want to leave that completely behind, I got no problem with that. Go to the lake, go to the beach, play golf, sit in the air conditioning, watch the golf tournament, hit the grill, go fishing. I'm fully with you. But I also know that you right now are listening to Sports Talk Radio in July. So you are at least tuned in a little bit. And to me, who's tuned in all the time, because it's the professional gig, I am curious what people will think of LSU. Again, it doesn't matter. People thought a lot of LSU last year. Team stunk. But it's just interesting. Like, what pack of teams do you put them in? Certainly LSU's not going to be in a pack with Georgia. And I think people will like Texas better than LSU, although their schedule's tougher this year. And then you get into that group where you got Ole Miss and A&M that were better than LSU last year. And then you kind of drop down a rung where I think you got Oklahoma and Bama, who were playoff teams last year that had their coaches, and Oklahoma's got their quarterback back. Bama's, got to step up. And then you dip down to like the Tennessees and Missouris, and that's kind of the realm LSU was in last year. What do they think this year? I'm curious about it, and we'll certainly see as we get there next week for SEC Media Days. But we talked about the LSU schedule at the top of the show. If you're looking for LSU football content, you can find it at Hunt on LSU, wherever you find your podcast, and certainly over at LouisianaSports.net. Top of the show, we talked about that. Our Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish, and Shrimp. I found the update. I don't follow the summer baseball day to day, but I do on Fridays, and I checked it out earlier. I'm very encouraged by what I'm seeing on Cape Cod right now, and I'll tell you what's going on up there. Jay Johnson was there this week as we talked to him yesterday. Get you updated on what's going on up there with the LSU transfers that are playing, and 2 of them are All-Stars. We'll talk about that when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Fabry Chevrolet GMC, online at FabryChevrolet.com. That is FabryChevrolet.com. They've got some awesome deals right now through the end of July and to August 3rd. If you're looking for a GMC Sierra, a 2026 Denali, you can get employee pricing. You can get up to $8,000 off of select Denali. So get on by and see them. Chevy's also offering 0% APR financing for 5 years on the 2026 Silverado 1500s, plus no monthly payments for 90 days now until August 3rd. So you pick up a 2026 Silverado 1500, you won't pay for 3 months. That's an incredible deal over at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. So if you're looking for that new SUV, go to St. Francisville on Highway 61 and check it out. You can also check out the inventory online at FabryChevrolet.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish, and Shrimp.
We'll go to upstate South Carolina to talk to Faxon Childress coming up in 45 minutes. It was ACC kickoff this week. Dabo Sweeney was in front of the microphone. I thought had some interesting things to say and mentioned a potential competition at quarterback. We kind of thought that Vizina would be the guy. He's been the heir apparent. He's been there for a couple of years. There's a true freshman making a bit of a push there. So we'll talk to Faxon Childress about what's going on with Clemson football as LSU and Clemson will kick off this season. Just a few weeks in 2026 from Tiger Stadium. So looking forward to that conversation. I think it sounds like I'm going to reciprocate that conversation on their airwaves, upstate South Carolina, next week from Tampa. So we're inching that way. We'll talk some football in hour number 2. I want to remind you about friends at Highland Insurance Group, Jonathan Carbo and the Highland Insurance Group online at HighlandIG.com. That's HighlandIG.com. They're doing a lot of work right now on the benefits side of things. They do property and casualty insurance, absolutely. So if you need help with that, the Howard Insurance Group can help you with that. But Jonathan Carbo and his team do a ton of benefits. If you are hurting based on your renewals in the benefits world with your health insurance, your vision, your dental, and you can't attract the employees that you want or retain employees because your benefits are not adequate or your bottom line struggling because it's too expensive, call the Howard Insurance Group. Have a conversation. They have done it with dozens of businesses around the Baton Rouge and South Louisiana areas in trying to help relieve some of that cost. Jonathan's awesome at it. So give him a call. Reach out online at HighlandIG.com for your group and employee benefits. The Howard Insurance Group, they're online at HighlandIG.com. All right, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but it is something that interests me this time of year, and especially considering the fact that these are players that haven't played for LSU yet. I've been giving you summer baseball updates the last few Fridays, and Santiago Garcia has been involved. Gavin Guidry's been involved. Those guys went to Cape Cod to get noticed by scouts and get drafted. They did. Santiago Garcia went to Toronto. Gavin Guidry taken by the Mets, and those guys will start their professional careers. We also know that Reagan Ricken went up to Cape Cod, made 3 starts. He's done. The 2 freshmen that went out west, and Jack Ruckert and William Patrick, those guys are done for the summer as well. The only guys really playing summer ball for LSU right now are the transfers. Dawson Park, Bino Waters, Jason Wax, and Cade Kurland are all on Cape Cod right now. When we talked to Jay Johnson yesterday, he was up there watching those guys play. And they'll play their All-Star game tomorrow, and Dawson Park and Bino Waters will be on the All-Star team. And I am very encouraged by what Dawson Park has done offensively on Cape Cod. Keep in mind, this is big-time stuff on the mound. These are draftable dudes, some of the best arms in the country, and you're playing with a wooden bat. So it is a pitcher-friendly league on Cape Cod. And Dawson Park, who was about a 300 hitter last year at Texas State, is hitting 286 on Cape Cod. He's 18 for 63. He's stolen 6 bases. He's only got 16 strikeouts, which is a pretty low number for that many ABs. 2 doubles, a triple. He's done a great job offensively hitting 286 in that league, and he's also been completely clean in 41 chances on the left side of the infield. He's made 2 errors at second base, but at shortstop and third, where he has played both positions, he has not made an error in 41 tries. So I think that's a really nice summer thus far for Dawson Park. He's a guy with a lot of variability on where he could be in the lineup. I could absolutely see Dawson Park hitting leadoff for LSU. I would not bet on it at all. I think he's more likely to hit 8th or 9th. But he's a draftable dude who's got a lot of bat speed. He's got some pop in his bat. And if he takes the strides with LSU's approach and in his final college season blossoms into a really good offensive player with his athleticism, I could see him hitting at the top of the order. But he's got to be a better contact and average hitter than he was last year. And you're seeing some of that on Cape Cod, hitting 286. Bino Waters has had a really, really nice Cape Cod summer as well. He is also hitting 286, 26 for 91 on the season. That includes 5 doubles, a homer, 18 RBI. His OPS is 783. He did not have a great week, but one thing that impresses me about Bino Waters, because we think of him as a left-handed hitter, all ACC, hits for some power, really controls the barrel through the zone, sprays the ball to all fields, can draw walks, gets on base, just a really complete hitter. That's the tool they brought him to Baton Rouge for. He's got 7 stolen bases on Cape Cod. Now, that's not, unbelievable, but it is showing it's not like a fluke deal where he, stole 1 base behind somebody on a double steal. 7 steals means you're stealing some bags, and I think that's really good for the athleticism of Bino Waters, who is very much the favorite to play left field for LSU next year. So those 2 guys are both hitting 286 in a very pitcher-friendly league, and both guys are going to be in the All-Star game tomorrow, which I think is awesome. Jason Wax has not had a great batting average summer, although it has improved the last 2 weeks. He's only hitting 208, but he has drawn walks, 13 of them, and his on-base percentage is 360, which is okay, especially when you consider that it's 150 points higher than his batting average, which means he is getting on base with some regularity. He's also got 6 stolen bases. He's got 3 doubles. So it hasn't been a great summer for Wax, but I do like the approach that he has done a good job of getting on base, and he's running a little bit, and I think he's got a chance to play center field. I checked where he's been playing. He's played 20 games in center. He's also played about 15 games elsewhere, but clearly he's playing center more often, which indicates to me they think that Wax is a center fielder. That means he'll have some competition from Nate Davis and Malachi Washington from the freshman class. But I like Wax, and I think he's doing a good job athletically on Cape Cod. And then Cade Curlin is white hot. He is sizzling. We talked to Jay Johnson yesterday. The Florida transfer hit a homer while Jay Johnson was at his game on Wednesday night. He's up to 260 with his batting average. He got 9 hits over the week. He's up to 260, as I mentioned, 4 doubles, a pair of homers. He's stolen 8 bases, only got 15 strikeouts and 73 at bats, 365 on base percentage. Curlin's got a pretty high floor. He's been an SEC starter for 3 years, so you know what you're going to get from that perspective. But really for 4 years, but he missed a lot of it for injury. But really a nice summer with a 260 batting average and a 365 on base with a lot of stolen bases. And oh, by the way, Cade Curlin defensively, 67 chances at second base, no errors. Defense was such a problem for LSU on the infield early in 2026. And to have Dawson Park be perfect on the left side of the infield at shortstop and third, and Cade Curlin be perfect at second base, I'm not there to watch every day to see if they're getting to enough balls or how the official scoring is going to be. But to not have an error between them, Curlin at second, Park at shortstop and third, that speaks volumes. That's catching the baseball. And we know that Curlin fielded it really well at Florida. We know that Park's got incredible athleticism. So you have absolutely done some things that Jay Johnson said LSU was going to do in the transfer portal. You have brought in complete hitters who use all fields, who draw walks, who get on base, who don't sell out to power, and you've brought in better defenders. You know Milam's going to be a star at shortstop. Curlin's a really good second baseman, and Park is plenty athletic to play shortstop and certainly third base, where I think he'll get his first look. So I'm encouraged by all this on Cape Cod. The only statistic you could point to and go, well, that's a little bit questionable, is Wack's batting average. He's hitting just a tick over 200. But look, he's stolen some bases, he's played some good defense, and he's done a good job of getting on base. So I don't have a lot of complaints. It's a hard league to hit in, and a lot of LSU guys have gone up there and struggled to hit. I'll tell you a guy that struggled last year. Let me see if I can pull up his stats, because I tracked him for a while. I didn't write about it and didn't talk about it last year. Kate Arambidi got off to a really bad start on Cape Cod last year. And to the point where I was thinking, like, man, maybe this guy is not ready to hit. Let's see what Cade hit last year on Cape Cod. He hit 154 and slugged 173. He played 17 games and had one extra base hit. Like, he really struggled for Chatham on Cape Cod last year. Came back in the fall, led LSU in hitting, came back in the spring, boom, monster season as a sophomore. So, like, this is a very difficult league to hit in. And you're looking at 4 transfers that are coming in that are expected to be forces for LSU offensively. They're doing a pretty damn good job swinging the bats up there in a tough place to hit. So good stuff from Cape Cod. And then the other baseball news from today. I checked this and I was right. I was wrong yesterday. Well, I didn't know yesterday. Tonight in Sacramento, Tommy White's Major League Baseball debut. Dylan Cruz on the other side. Gage Jump on the mound. Awesome day for LSU, and Jay Johnson will be there in Sacramento tonight. So if you're a Braves fan, Astros fan, Cubs fan, Red Sox fan, Yankees fan, Cardinals fan, I think that pretty much covers all my bases around here. If you're a fan of one of those teams, maybe there's some Rangers fans that have come down from Dallas or East Texas, and you've got the MLB package like I do to watch the Cubs, pop over to the A's and the Nationals from Sacramento tonight, and you'll catch a lot of LSU flavor in that one. Jay Johnson will be in attendance. So that's a look at some baseball here on this Friday. We're brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. We'll step aside, come back, and close out the hour. We got LSU football talk coming in 15 minutes. Don't go anywhere. Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Look, if there's a small crack in your bathtub or a small crack in your shower, it may not appear to be a big deal. It's small in size, right? But what it does is it opens your walls, your floors, your ceilings, everything to water. And water is a significant problem. If untreated, that small crack in your shower, that small crack in your tub could have water seeping everywhere. And by the time you get to it or you send someone out, you've got mold, you've got rotted wood, you've got damaged walls, you've got damaged ceilings below, you've got floors that have issues, and it can be a significant expense. If you have a small crack, contact David Duvall in One Bath and Closets. Let him come out and take a look. It's so easy to see that and go, it's not that big, whatever. I'll deal with it. No one ever sees that. Could be a big deal. David Duvall and his team do this kind of stuff all the time. Don't wait too long. If you see an imperfection in your shower, in your bathtub, go to onebathandclosets.com, get that consultation, have David out so that he can examine what exactly is going on. It's One Bath and Closets. They're online at onebathandclosets.com. I love telling y'all about Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp on Fridays. Got some incredible new items you can see on the website, corksfishandshrimp.com. They always have their huge stuffed potatoes, which come covered in crawfish etouffee with the Gulf shrimp right there on top. They've got delicious pork chops as well. You can get one for under $17. It's an incredible deal. You want to eat on the lighter side? They've got a shrimp Caesar salad as well that you can check out. You got a smothered pork chop. So it's not just the incredible Gulf shrimp platters, not just the awesome catfish platters, not just the catering. They've also got some other menu items as well, and I highly recommend get the beignet bites as you drive on through. It's a late lunch right now. You can still zip on through, and they always do great catering work as well if you're looking to feed in bulk, whether it's a birthday party, retirement party, family reunion this time of year, maybe a back-to-school celebration that's coming up here. Got a load to feed? You can do it with my friends over at Corks. Check them out at corksfishandshrimp.com there on Government between Foster and Jefferson. Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Sam Burns is back in the mix, y'all. The Shreveport boy, LSU Tiger, fired the lowest round in the history of major championship golf today. They've been playing major championship golf for a long time. He fired the lowest round ever. It's a tie, and it was actually tied today by Lucas Herbert, who posted a 62 first. But Sam Burns holed out from the bunker on the 18th hole today to shoot a 62. He moves to 5 under par. That is 3 off of Herbert's lead. Jackson Suber from Ole Miss, who was the first-round leader, finished with a 1 under today. He is 6 under. Cam Young, also at 6 under par. So those two guys, 2 shots back in the lead. But Sam Burns, just 3 shots back of the lead right now and will be in the mix. And he's good enough to win this, y'all. He's got everything that you need in your game to make this happen. And obviously, when you go out there and shoot a 62, you've got it. This is not an overly difficult golf course right now. The rough has kind of died. It just hasn't rained and it's dried out, and so it's wispy and thin, and you can get away with missing a little bit off the tee. And you got to make putts. And Sam Burns is as good a putter as there is in the world. And these greens are very, very puttable. They're not really fast. They don't have a lot of undulation. And he made 2 from off the green today, which certainly helps. He made a putt from off the green from down on a swale early in the round, and then made it from the bunker late in the round. But he's now gotten enough seasoning in major championships, in the U.S. Open, in PGAs, that he can be a factor here. And he's got that in his back pocket. Early in his career, he was just never a factor in major championship golf. He was a top 15 player in the world. He won multiple times on the PGA Tour. He was a President's Cup player that became a Ryder Cup player, but he was never a factor in major championships. Now he is, routinely, and he's got the chops to get this done. You look up above him, and you see Jackson Suber, who I don't think is a significant threat. You see Lucas Herbert, who I don't think is a significant threat. Now, you've been wrong. There have been Todd Hamiltons overseas. That happens, where a guy no one's ever heard of jumps up and takes the claret jug. But Sam Burns can win. Now, he's got some company right around that. Bryson DeChambeau is playing fantastic golf. He's bombing it all over the place and chipping it out of the rough at greens, making birdies. He's 5 under. I told you yesterday I thought he would eject. Maybe not, with no wind and the fact that there's not a lot of penalty for missing off the tee. He hit one out of bounds, which gives you a lot of penalty. But Bryson may be a factor here. Unfortunately, we got to pull for him to absolutely fall off the face of the earth. But then you look beyond that, and there are some really good players. Robert McIntyre is 4 under, right behind Sam Burns. He's a great links player. Went to McNeese. Scotty Scheffler is 4 under. He's got 2 holes left to play. One of those is a par 5, so he certainly could climb up the board. You got Shane Lowry at 3 under, who is certainly a factor. Justin Thomas hanging around. Tommy Fleetwood, who was born right around the corner, is hanging around there. It appears that it's going to be a really interesting weekend there in England. I'm pulling for Sam. It's obviously a Shreveport guy. It's obviously an LSU guy. I think you never want to say inevitable, right? Because it's not inevitable. Like Lee Westwood just never got one. And Phil Mickelson never won the U.S. Open. And Arnold Palmer never won the PGA. And you're looking at guys that have been great players for a long time that never cashed in a major. And right now, you're looking, Ricky Fowler never got it done. You would have thought that was inevitable. One time he finished top 5 all 4 majors of a single calendar year. And he just never won one. And you don't want that to be Sam's fate. But the best way to win one is to knock on the door, knock on the door, knock on the door, knock on the door. And eventually, you figure you'll kick it down. And right now, Sam is in that spot. He's playing as good a golf as anybody in the world. He's got the game to get it done on a links course. He said today in a post-round interview that, I've never felt super comfortable on a links course. But this is a different test than the, ripping wind and driving rain and big undulations in the fairways. That's not necessarily the test at this golf course. This is a golf course that requires you to put it on the right angle and then to attack from the right angle and make putts. And Sam is really good at that. So what a cool story that would be. Of course, David Tom's kind of the flag bearer for Louisiana golf, another Shreveport guy, another LSU guy. If Sam Burns could join him, that would be a really, really cool story from overseas. He's done for today. Again, Sam Burns is 3 shots back. If you think Lucas Herbert is going to run off and hide, then he's in a tenuous spot. I think there's a chance Lucas Herbert does not run off and hide, and that brings Sam Burns into the mix with Cam Young, Bryson DeChambeau, Robert McIntyre, Francesco Molinari, Open champion, Scotty Scheffler, Shane Lowry, an Open champion, like Tommy Fleetwood, John Rahm. Those guys are all right there within striking distance. So it's a potentially cool story and gives the people of Louisiana kind of something to pull for. It's a different vibe when you kind of wake up and watch the golf, and it wraps up around 2 p.m. But that's where we are right now. Hopefully Sam can get it done. He'll go late tomorrow as one of the last folks out. Right now he would be in the second to last group, I believe. No, he would have been first out. So he might be in the last group tomorrow. It's very possible. So that'd be awesome if Sam could get that done. Heck of a round today, the lowest in the history of major championship golf, a 62 for Louisiana's own. All right, that's it for hour number 1 here on this Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Again, we're brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish, and Shrimp. Open the show today talking about the 4 new additions to LSU's schedule. Tigers will play week 0 the next 2 years in front of games against Texas opponents, Houston and SMU coming to Tiger Stadium, so taking advantage of that and the extra bye. They'll also add Tulane to the schedule in 2030. My thoughts are at the top of the show. You can find that at Hunt on LSU. Preston Guy had his thoughts on that, as well as SEC Media Days. We talked to him at 1:15, and then a big LSU baseball recap at what guys are doing on Cape Cod at 1:30. So you can catch any of that wherever you find your sound. Just search Hunt Palmer Show. Subscribe to the channel. We always very much appreciate that if you can. Wherever you can do that, it helps us get in front of as many people as possible. So thanks for your continued support in that way. Loaded hour number 2. It's our last hour of the week. At 2:30, basketball school, football school, baseball school, women's basketball school. I'm going to go through all 16 SEC schools and go 16 for 16. We'll see if I can do that at the bottom of hour 2. Facts and Children in 20 minutes. We're going to talk to him about the Clemson Tigers and Dabo Sweeney's ACC Media Days romp yesterday. And when we come back after Sports Center, we'll talk defensive tackle. I've got kind of strong feelings on LSU's DTs. We'll do that next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
GoTro's Outdoor Power, GoTrosOnline.com. That's GoTrosOnline.com. We've reached the back half of the month of July, but that doesn't mean you're too late to get on by and get incredible savings from my friends at GoTro's Outdoor Power. I was talking to Gant GoTro the other day, and in July, they've got incredible savings. 20% off MSRP for Hustler commercial mowers. 20% off MSRP for Hustler commercial mowers. Plus, 0% financing for 48 months is available. You just got to stop by. They're open 6 days a week, half a day on Saturday. So if you want to go tomorrow, got some time off work and want to get in behind the wheel of one of those zero turns, you can do it tomorrow in the morning hours. They got 2 locations, on Airline in Baton Rouge. Of course, they're in Gonzales as well. You can also check them out online at GoTrosOnline.com. They're the nation's largest Hustler dealer of the year. Biggest Hustler inventory in the state. If you want amazing deals, local company, GoTro's Outdoor Power.